Welcome back to the AnKorage, where everything is awesome and I'm a big boy. There you go. Anyhow, moving on. So, what we did in the last video was we went over the basic hardware requirements that you're going to need, like your power plug, so on and so forth. But for FILEQuest, since we're building a file server, one important piece of hardware that you absolutely need is a place to store all of your data. Now, you could do something as simple as a USB drive, but these are only so big. You can get them fairly large. You can get them up to like 256 gigs or something like that, but then the cost just gets crazy at that point. So what I recommend is getting a hard drive, an actual old-fashioned kind of sort of platter drive. It's the one with the spinning discs inside. Those are the cheapest, and they're very reliable. And I recommend you get a portable one, like you would use with a laptop, and take around with you, because the Raspberry Pi can provide the power you need for that. Whereas if you want to get one that you actually have a power plug and you plug it into the wall or a power strip or whatnot, you can certainly do that, but I don't recommend it because that takes up a power plug socket. So I recommend using a portable. Now, what we've got actually is the first thing I'm going to show you is we are actually going to make those black bars go away with something pretty. So we're going to use this. So we are doing that, and what we're also going to do is we're going to go out to Amazon, and I'm going to show you a portable hard drive, just to kind of show you how cheap you can kind of get it, and having a fair amount of data to work with. As far as storage capacity goes. Now, you can get like 256 or 500 gigs or something like that, but you certainly don't want to go any further than, let's say, a terabyte, unless you really want to and you've got the money to spend. But this one here from Amazon is it's pretty perfect. It's not that bad. So it's less than $50, and it's a platter drive, and it works just fine. I've got two here that I use. Granted, it's more than a terabyte, but that's because I've got all that data that I need to store. Each person, and it's not connected to a file server. It's actually connected directly to my Linux machine. so we're going to be looking at that. So what we are going to be doing is we are actually going to be looking at installing the operating system, Raspberry Pi OS, onto the microSD card. Now, the first thing you want to do is that you want to download the actual operating system. So what you want to do is, if we come out to raspberrypi.com, you're going to be brought to this page here. So, and this is basically what it looks like, and you want to go into the menu area up here to software, and you're going to be brought to the Raspberry Pi OS, and this is where you actually obtain it. And what you actually will be using is the Imager program, which is actually this right here. And that's what it looks like. So you can download it for Windows. So if you're on a Windows machine, it just automatically pops up like this. But you can also download it for Macintosh and Ubuntu for Linux, or Linux Mint. I use Linux Mint, so that's where I put it. And but in Linux, you can also use this little instruction here from a terminal window. So if you download it, basically, this is using Vivaldi, so this is what that looks like. And it downloads it, and see, you got the little 3 there. It's because I've got 3 copies of it now. But clear that out, and clear that out, and that's all happy and such. So, and that's downloading it. Now, and then what you do is you double click it, and it will install it, and then you'll have a nice little shortcut and such. So, and that's how you basically get it. Next, what we're going to do is we are actually going to burn it onto a microSD card. So we're going to use that in a second. Just want to show you that here we have typically when you get, let's say if you buy one new, this one happens to be SanDisk, and they like to give you, an SD adapter as well as the actual microSD card. So you can actually take this and you can actually slide it into the adapter and slide it into a card reader on your computer. Now, if you don't happen to have one, and that's because a lot of recently made machines don't actually have a card reader on it. If you happen to have a card reader, great, go for it. But otherwise, you're going to need an adapter, and I happen to have one here because I'm going to actually be using it. This one is a Transcend, if you can see that, and it holds a there we go. It holds an SD card and a micro SD card. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pop that in. Take this and I'm just going to slide it right in there and pop like that. I'm going to plug it into my computer. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right. So at that point, what we want to do is fire up the Imager program, and this is what it looks like. So let's get that ready. Okay, if I can get that and get back to this. Okay, so you're brought into the imaging program. Now this is a very simple to use program. So what you want to do is you want to come down here to choose OS. You click on that and you want to pick the one right off the top, Raspberry Pi OS 32-bit. You just want to pick that. Okay, and then now you'll see that another icon showed up in the lower right corner. We don't want to touch that because excuse me, that's for advanced, that's for advanced stuff. We don't want to touch this right now. We're just going to go with the defaults of everything. So you want to pick your storage, and you want to pick where your device or your SD card happens to be. And mine happens to be the Transcend, so I pick that. And then you click on Write. And you'll get a little confirmation box. Are you sure you want to continue? Because it's going to erase everything. So you want to do that. Alright, so it's writing, and we are going to take a quick break, and I'll come back towards the end of the writing. Alright, we're at 75%, and just want to take a quick moment to mention that I'm running a 16 gigabyte micro SSD. And so writing the image, it takes about 5 or 6 minutes, so it's not fairly long. If you've got a 32, it's going to be longer. And I know someone in particular where they bought a 32 because it was only a couple of bucks more. Hey, that's fine, but your write is actually going to take a little bit longer. So we are now at about 90%, and this will be finished in, probably about 20 seconds or something like that. And after this is done, it's going to go into a verification. So after it finishes writing, it's going to verify that burn and make sure everything's all right and that nothing is corrupt or anything. So here we have the verification. And this takes place, in the same run, and it happens to take. It actually happens quicker. So as you can see, it's already at 35%. So we will be right back. Okay, and it's about to be finished. So, and there it goes, and it's finalizing, and there we have that. So you can click on continue. It'll more or less just kind of clear out like that, and you can remove the micro SD card. You can insert it into your Pi, and you're ready to plug in the power and boot it up. Or if you already have that in with that neat little funky switch cord that I mentioned in the last video, you can just switch it on. So that's what we got going on there. So that's basically writing the operating system to that micro SD card. It's that simple, and it's that quick. Well, it's quick. I mean, it's really quick on the video because I can hit pause, and I did. But it doesn't take more than you'll be spending less than 10 minutes putting that on there. So we are going to stop the video here, and we are going to move on, and we're going to do the next part, which is actually getting your basic setup for the Raspberry Pi, or for Raspberry Pi OS, before we go on to the next part after that, which is actually setting up the file server. So why don't you return next time, and we will actually set up the Raspberry Pi to kind of prep it for moving on after that to set up the file server. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it, and I can stop looking at this camera that's staring at me because it just sits there. It worries me sometimes. Skál.